Hey, so I wanted to fact check the entire debate and fact check Kamala because Kamala had no fact checking, yet Trump had constant fact checking during the sham debate, really, on the ABC News, if you want to call it that. Even though people have gone through the ABC and seen that they've given 100% positive coverage of Kamala's or the Democrats in general, and I think it was like 90-something% negative for Trump. So it's just opinion over there. So anyway, it's weird that they got to hold the presidential election debate. It used to be that an independent body held the debate and the channels could broadcast it, but nowadays, I don't know, that's gone. I think it should definitely go back to that. But let's get into it, folks. Here's the first bit. We're going to talk about Harris and how she's just dodges questions, totally dodges questions. So here the question is, tell us about the economy.
It's an honor to have you both here tonight.
Good evening. We are looking forward to a spirited and thoughtful debate.
So let's get started.
And well rehearsed.
I want to begin tonight with the issue that voters repeatedly say is their number one issue, and that is the economy and the cost of living in this country. Vice President Harris, you and President Trump were elected 4 years ago, and your opponent on the stage here tonight often asks his supporters, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? When it comes to the economy, do you believe Americans are better off than they were 4 years ago?
Okay, so do you believe you are better off than 4 years ago? And listen to her answer. Is this answered anywhere in her answer?
Go.
So I was raised as a middle-class kid.
I was raised as a middle-class kid, and you can tell this is all rehearsed. Like, she's gone over this about 600 times with all her debate prepping over the last week. And yeah.
I am actually the only person on this stage who has a plan that is about lifting up the middle class and working people of America.
Okay, what is it?
I believe in the ambition, the aspirations, the dreams of the American people.
Mm-hmm.
And that is why I imagine and have actually a plan to build what I call an opportunity economy.
Oh.
Because here's the thing.
Just sounds like
we
a
know
tagline,
that we
not a
have
plan.
a shortage of homes and housing.
Okay.
And the cost of housing is too expensive for far too many people.
Oh, but you've been in power for the last 4 years.
That young families need support to raise their children, and I intend on extending a tax cut for those families of $6,000, which is the largest child tax credit that we have given in a long time.
Yeah, that's the plan,
so that those young families can afford to buy a crib, buy a car seat, buy clothes for their children.
Oh, yeah. Why don't you actually fix the economy by like lowering petrol price, like by basically supporting energy prices, because that was what, and lower government spending, because that's where inflation comes from in the first place. So inflation comes from too much government spending, and Trump said he'd bring on Elon, and Elon's very good at cutting. Like, business people are good at cutting costs in business because they see the price feedback loop. But anyway, let's get on to the next thing. I just wanted to say that she really doesn't answer questions. She mentioned one tax break, but there's no real plan. And the question really was, are people better off than they were 4 years ago? And she just doesn't answer it. But anyway, the next thing we're going to talk about is saying that Trump has a sales tax, and that's just not true, but let's
My
go have a look
opponent
at that.
has a plan that I call the Trump's sales tax, which would be a 20% tax on everyday goods that you rely on to get through the month.
Even he's shocked. He's like, what? Really? I didn't know I had a sales tax. He doesn't have a sales tax. He hates taxes. He doesn't have taxes on anything. What he does have is tariffs coming in from products being made overseas. And you can say that that's a good thing or a bad thing, but that's actually the plan to get the entire country building again, getting its factories happening again instead of everything being built in America. Now, things will go up in price when that happens.
Economists have said that Trump sales tax would actually result for middle-class families in about $4,000 more a year, because of his policies and his ideas about what should be the backs of middle-class people paying for tax cuts for billionaires.
Blah, 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 tax cuts for billionaires. It's just so disingenuous and so awful. But let's have a look at the next thing. The next thing is that Harris brings in this idea that she got the worst unemployment when, her and Biden got the worst unemployment in the history of the US or whatever, worst public health crisis, and the worst attack on since
Trump's mess.
Let's have a look.
What we have done and what I intend to do is build on what we know are the aspirations and the hopes of the American people. But I'm going to tell you all in this debate tonight, you're going to hear from the same old tired playbook, a bunch of lies, grievances, and name-calling.
Well, all we heard is lies from her and name-calling. She kept on calling him disgrace and all this other stuff. But anyway, she brings up the worst possible things. First of all, the worst attack in history on democracy in the US. It's a funny attack because it's basically the world's first attack on democracy that had no weapons. Like the people just didn't have any weapons or guns at January 6th. No police were shot or killed. One of the protesters was killed by a police officer, unfortunately. But it seems like a weird thing to say, specifically a day before 9/11. Like, as if you'd say it was the worst attack on their democracy since the Civil War, a day before 9/11. Like, is she? I don't know. It's just a weird thing to say. And then worst public health. Look, you can also actually see, I've got it somewhere here. Maybe, I'm not sure. Here it is. Yep. The unemployment rates going down the whole time Trump was on, going down. COVID hits, of course, it's going to spike and go crazy. And then, it comes down as people realize it was all a sham, and it starts to go back. And look at during the Biden administration, back up. So it's heading straight back up under their administration because they don't know what they're doing. Next thing I want to talk about is they're constantly bringing up this Project 2025. Let's have a listen.
A bunch of lies, grievances, and name-calling. What you're going to hear tonight is a detailed and dangerous plan called Project 2025 that the former president intends on implementing if he were elected again.
So he's said multiple times, I've seen it so many times, him totally reject this project. He goes, I haven't even read it. I don't know what they're talking about. They keep bringing it up. It's led by the Heritage Foundation, this paper. It was like a 900-page paper. And Trump said, I have nothing to do with this. I haven't even read the thing, yet they just keep bringing it up. This Project 2025, they're gonna, and it just seems it's so disingenuous because he stated outright, I have nothing to do with this and this isn't me. It's nothing to do with me. I'm not going to do it. It's again, another lie, not called out by the ABC. Yet whenever he says something that might be slightly contentious, they call it out. Anyway, let's get on to the next thing here. Trump, well, first of all, here's Trump denouncing
President Trump will give you a minute here to respond.
Number one, I have nothing to do, as you know, and as she knows better than anyone, I have nothing to do with Project 2025. That's out there. I haven't read it. I don't want to read it purposely. I'm not going to read it. This was a group of people that got together. They came up with some ideas, I guess some good, some bad, but it makes no difference. I have nothing to do. Everybody knows I'm an...
Yeah, and the left-wing media has been pushing this narrative that Trump... That's his agenda. When his agenda is on his website, you can check it out on the Trump website, what exactly is the agenda. Yet they just lie, straight out lie to everybody and say Project 2025, which is this strange think tank that he has nothing to do with. All right, so let's talk about making chips and selling chips to China.
He invited trade wars. You want to talk about his deal with China? What he ended up doing is under Donald Trump's presidency, he ended up selling American chips to China.
So first of all, there are no American chips apart from Apple with their M chips are made, but even them, they're made in Taiwan. All chips are made in Taiwan, pretty much, and we saw that during the chips shortage. People have been selling chips. The Americans have been selling chips. Well, there are only two companies. There's a private sector. It's Nvidia and Intel, and they've been selling chips forever to China. Like, it's not just under Trump. Trump has nothing to do with chip sales. Like, these private companies do. So it's just a weird thing to say that he's been selling chips to strengthen the Chinese army. I mean, it's forever. The private sector is allowed to go and sell for whoever they want chips. It's just
to help
it's a strange
them
thing. Now, there was a bill passed by the Democrats to
improve and modernize their military,
basically, and Nvidia from selling chips. But also, she brings up saying he brought this trade war when they brought in a ban to sell chips. So that's actually a trade war when he opened trade. So it's a strange, again, another total lie because he had nothing to do, with selling chips. Let's have a look at Kamala, the actress. Watch what she would have done. She would have practiced and prepped for weeks now about the faces she's going to pull.
My philosophy now. In fact, I was going to send her a MAGA hat.
Yes.
She's gone to my philosophy,
Smile
but
slightly.
If she ever got elected, she'd change it, and it will be the end of our country. She's a Marxist. Everybody knows she's a Marxist.
Oh.
Her father's a Marxist professor in economics, and he taught her well.
Oh, no.
But when you look at what she's done to our country, and when you look at these millions and millions of people that are pouring into our country monthly, where it's, I believe, 21 million people, not the 15 that people say, and I think it's a lot higher than the 21. That's bigger than New York State pouring in. And just look at what they're doing to our country. They're criminal.
Anyway, so I wanted to bring that up quickly. And now this one is interesting. This is the COVID suppression.
In terms of workers' rights. But what Donald Trump did, let's talk about this, with COVID, is he actually thanked President Xi for what he did during COVID. Look at his tweet.
So if anyone remembers COVID, like Trump was going after, he was calling it the China virus. He was just so anti-China. For her to bring up, say that he thanked President Xi, like, if anything, if there was any sort of thanking, it would have been totally sarcastic. I mean, and everybody that has a little bit of brain power left in them knows how much and there's not many leaders in the world that went after China like Trump did. Everyone's too chicken shit to go after China. If you look at the Australian governments, if you look at any government, they never call out China because China is a massive, massive beast that they don't want to poke the dragon. And he didn't care. He just went after him, calling it the China virus, just constantly going after him. I mean, but and then now to say that he was actually like friendly with them and thanked them for COVID, like, just such a lie. Where was the ABC? Where's the fact checking?
Thank you, President Xi, exclamation point, when we know that Xi was responsible for lacking and not giving us transparency about the origins of COVID.
Not giving us transparency, hey? Well, let's look here at Zuckerberg saying that the White House pressured Facebook to censor some COVID-19 content when people were saying that it might have been a lab leak. They were cancelled. Their Facebook accounts were cancelled. On Twitter, they were cancelled. On Instagram, deleted. If you mentioned that COVID was a lab leak from the Wuhan Institute of Virology, and no, it was a zoological virus. That was the only narrative you could say. And then slowly people realized, look, it's the Wuhan virus from, it's a lab leak. It's a lab leak. And the lack of transparency, and that was because their administration was forcing the hand of these massive media companies to basically censor the entire internet from the idea that there was a lab leak. So misinformation coming directly from the top, from the Biden and Harris administration, to censor discussions about COVID, and there she is telling you and I and everybody else that that Trump somehow didn't have transparency in that. Now, there are problems that, in my mind, during the Trump administration and how they handled COVID, I didn't think he handled it very well at all, but it is what it is. To blatantly lie and say that there was no transparency when they created the no transparency ecosystem is kind of sick. All right, let's go through the next thing. ABC fact-checking in real time. Let's have a listen.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born. Madam Vice President, I want to get your response to President Trump.
All right, so there is no state where it's legal. Well, actually, yes, there is actually, and it's been voted on over and over again. Let's have a look at this tweet from Bill Mitchell. Yes, Democrats have voted to kill babies after birth. The ABC moderators lied. Democrats have voted against bills that would require doctors to provide care for infants born alive after an attempted abortion. One prominent example is a Born Alive Abortion Survivors Protection Act, which was introduced multiple times into Congress. And guess who voted against it? Tim Walz. Into Congress. This bill mandates that any infant born alive after an attempted abortion must receive the same medical care as any other newborn. In 2019 and 2021, Senator Democrats blocked this bill from advancing by voting against cloture, preventing it from reaching the required 60% to vote, 60 votes to break the filibuster. And if you want to see the, you can read, there's that tweet. But Kamala lied, and Tim Walz was actually, actively blocking that bill.
The protections of Roe v. Wade. And as you rightly mentioned, nowhere in America is a woman carrying a pregnancy to term and asking for an abortion. That is not happening. It's insulting to the women of America.
But it is. And Tim Walz actually voted that it would happen. They're super rare cases, and this is typical in the abortion debates, that they bring up these absolute edge cases because they're horrific. And for anyone that's going through them, because usually this bill is actually meant for like babies that are born with severe malformations, or they've tried to abort them really late stage in the third trimester and it hasn't worked properly, and really tragic stuff. But the bills exist, and it's kind of sick to see them going on to say it isn't happening.
Pregnant women who want to carry a pregnancy to term, suffering from a miscarriage, being denied care
being denied care is just not a thing. If someone's suffering a miscarriage, of course they're given care in any state. This is just fake. It's lies. It's lies to bring up emotions against your common sense. And you can ask any doctor. If you are having a miscarriage, there's no law about not being able to have an abortion that has anything to do with that. They're going to try to save the mother and the baby, but mostly if there's a miscarriage, you cannot save the baby. But yeah, as this this is the other thing that
emergency room, because the healthcare providers are afraid they might go to jail, and she's bleeding out in a car in the parking lot. She didn't want that. Her husband didn't want that. A 12 or 13-year-old survivor of incest being forced to carry a pregnancy to term. They don't want that. And I pledge to you, when Congress passes...
So she goes on about incest and rape, right? Let's have a look at a tweet from Donald Trump about this exact topic. And this was done. This was written in May 2019, and he said it over and over again. I'm just pulled up one example, but he said it multiple times. As most people know, and for those who would like to know, I am strongly pro-life. Okay. With the 3 exceptions: rape, incest, and protecting the life of the mother. The same position taken by Ronald Reagan. Like, it's just so disingenuous. And another lie, not fact-checked in real time by the ABC. No. Kamala's allowed to just spew whatever she wants out, and nothing fact-checked. She goes on in this emotive, almost crying thing of the poor mother that has been, that is pregnant from incest, and you, Donald, want to keep that. It's like, it's just an utter lie, an utter lie. All right, let's get on with the next thing.
Couples who pray and dream of having a family are being denied IVF treatments. What is happening in our country? All
right. So this is the part where she says that Donald Trump works to deny people of IVF treatment. Absolute fake, and lie. Here it is. Even this is on CNN, something a network that is absolutely against Trump at all levels. Trump proposed, and this was years ago that he did this, but this article came out in August 29, 2024. Trump proposes making government or insurance companies pay for IVF treatment. And he's been on this bandwagon for ages with IVF. But this is just one example. Donald Trump said Thursday he will be implementing a policy as president that would pay for in vitro fertilization treatments without specifying how the treatments would be paid for. I'm announcing today in a major statement that under the Trump administration, your government will pay for, or your insurance company will be mandated to pay for, all costs associated with IVF treatment, the former president said at a campaign rally in Potterville, Michigan. Because we want more babies, he said, to put it nicely. So it goes on and on like that. Again, another lie saying that he doesn't want IVF, he's blocking IVF, he's doing all this. Just total lies, not fact-checked by the ABC.
The other thing, you should ask, will she allow abortion in the 8th month, 9th month, 7th month?
Come on.
Okay, would you do that?
See? And she doesn't answer. She doesn't answer.
Why don't you ask her that question?
Why don't you answer the question? Would you be?
Why don't you answer the question? See, she doesn't even answer the question, would you? So, yeah. Would you? Would you deny that? She doesn't want to talk about 3rd trimester abortions because that would upset her radical following that they just want to kill babies. All right, CNN article that we saw here about IVF. We covered that. Let's see here. Yeah, it won't answer about 3rd trimester because she knows it's controversial. All right, let's talk about here. This, by the way, this is the part about. This is the live. This is the live fact check.
After birth. Just look at the former governor of Virginia. The governor of Virginia said we put the baby aside and then we determine what we want to do with the baby.
President Trump, thank you.
We're going to turn now to.
All right, so let's have a look at that.
And governors, you know, the issue of abortion rights emerges every year in the General Assembly session. This year, no exception. There was a very contentious committee hearing yesterday when Fairfax County Delegate Kathy Tran made her case for lifting restrictions on 3rd trimester abortions, as well as other restrictions now in place. And she was pressed by a Republican delegate about whether her bill would permit an abortion, even as a woman is essentially dilating, ready to give birth. And she answered that it would permit an abortion at that stage.
Oh my God. That's so
of
demented.
labor. Do you support her measure and explain her answer?
Yeah, and I wasn't there, Julie, and I certainly can't speak for Delegate Tran, but I would tell you, first thing I would say is this is why decisions such as this should be made by providers, physicians, and the mothers and fathers that are involved. There are, when we talk about third trimester abortions, these are done with the consent of obviously the mother, with the consent of the physicians, more than one physician, by the way. And it's done in cases where there may be severe deformities, there may be a fetus that's non-viable. So in this particular example, if a mother is in labor, I can tell you exactly what would happen. The infant would be delivered. The infant would be kept comfortable. The infant would be resuscitated if that's what the mother and the family desired. And then a discussion would ensue between the physicians and the mother. So I think this was really
a discussion of what they will do with the baby. So yes, they do. They would. Now, whatever you think about this, that's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about just the lies to say that it's not true, and the ABC just fact checking in real time when their fact check is wrong. So, but millions of people will just see that and go, "Oh, see, President Trump full of lies again." Anyway, so that's. You can look that up. It's Virginia Governor Ralph Northam. All right, bill proposed. Let's have a look at this.
Country. That bill would have put more resources to allow us to prosecute transnational criminal organizations for trafficking in guns, drugs, and human beings. But you know what happened to that bill? Donald Trump got on the phone, called up some folks in Congress, and said, kill the bill. And you know why? Because he'd prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem.
All right. So this has been brought up to me a few times to say that that they were about to sign a bill that would fix the whole border crossing, so we wouldn't have this. The Americans wouldn't have this massive illegal immigration problem anymore. And Trump rang up and said, "Hey, this is going to kill my campaign," to his mates in the Congress. Kill it. Don't vote for it because I'm running on this whole border thing. And this is what they bring up and say that's what happened. Well, actually, it's not what happened. The bill wasn't just for the border. In fact, she doesn't need a bill to stop people coming. She could just sign a thing to say stop every person coming across the border right now and process them in Mexico. There's a whole bunch of stuff that can happen. Why did he call up and cancel the bill? Because the bill had multiple things going through it, including another $60 billion for Ukraine funding. They had support for the Ukraine. They had its ongoing conflict in Russia. They had money for that. There was $14 billion for Israel. They included for the missile defense capabilities and other military needs. They had support for Indo-Pacific region in terms of military and aid. So there was a whole bunch of other stuff in that bill and not just border, which they could just fix without a bill. So again, another lie, not fact-checked, and everyone's thinking, wow, what a scumbag, runs on this campaign and then rings up to kill the bill. So there you have it. Next thing I want to talk about is the Trump rallies. She brings up the Trump rallies about how terrible they are and how boring they are. Well, I've watched a heap of them. I really like them. He's always entertainment. If there's one thing that Trump is, he's very entertainment. Kamala Harris, on the other hand, ships in mainstream big pop stars because that brings the crowds, and then she'll have like a 15-minute speech afterwards. And in fact, there are people. This is the article about the bill and what other things there are in there, apart from the border. So this is the.
And I'm going to actually do something really unusual, and I'm going to invite you to attend one of Donald Trump's rallies, because it's a really interesting thing to watch.
Thanks for inviting me.
You will see during the course of his rallies, he talks about fictional characters like Hannibal Lecter. He will talk about windmills cause cancer. And what you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of
you're leaving
exhaustion
his
and
early.
boardom. And I will tell you, the one thing you will not hear him talk about.
This was a bait to get him on his defense, because that's Trump's weak point. But let's look at Harris after she's a big name rapper was there. She starts talking and people start leaving. So if she's talking about people leaving rallies, well, there you have it. Like it's just, again, like, I mean, it's not really a lie or anything like that, because who knows, maybe some people leave. It doesn't matter. What people want are policies, not this nonsense. Anyway, let's have a look at where are we up to here? Eating cats and pets. Let's have a look.
What's happening to the towns all over the United States. And a lot of towns don't want to talk. It's not going to be Aurora or Springfield. A lot of towns don't want to talk about it because they're so embarrassed by it. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats.
Oh, look at her laughing.
They're eating the pets of the people that live there. Okay.
So let's have a look. So here we have a guy carrying a goose. Look, when you know, some duck hunters, there's some, you know, people hunting and stuff. Look, I'm not a big hunter guy. You know, I eat a lot of meat. I'm pretty much carnivore. So I don't really, you know, I have a problem with eating pets, for sure. Other people's pets, absolutely terrible. Like this cat's lives matter. But look, this is the problem as well with massive illegal immigration. There's going to be people that fall through the cracks. And not only that, the cracks are going to get wider, and then people from the US are going to fall into those cracks as well. And the big problem there is that people start starving. And when you're starving, you will eat anything. I know that if I was starving hungry, there's a high likelihood that I would eat a cat because I'm starving. It's either me or the cat. And it just is what it is. If you look at some survivalist videos, there's even been stories of people eating other people. It's terrible, terrible situations. But, you know, they're extreme, absolute extreme situations. And this is an extreme situation. There are people that are absolutely hungry and they're going and catching the local wildlife and, at worst, people's pets. We have here this woman.
Why'd you kill the cat? Smile for me.
I don't know if we don't know. But there have been stories, this is one I found.
Did you eat that cat? Did you eat it?
The police.
No, why'd you kill it?
Asking about. But anyway, just a weird thing. Let's have a look at the crime statistics to get back on track. These are crime statistics in Springfield come 2020 post. You know, through COVID and through the whole Biden administration, has absolutely skyrocketed. And yeah, well, when people get desperate, they do desperate things. But here's a really important conversation here in the city of Springfield that a woman is giving.
Noelle, thank you.
I live at 426 Northwestern Avenue. Miss Skinner, who I'm not trying to put on the spot, is my neighbor.
Just talk to me, ma'am. Thank you so much.
And I'm done with what I'm seeing. It is so unsafe in my neighborhood anymore. I have the homeless that were trying to camp out, and I have made concessions with them, and I try to help them the best I can to keep them. from trying to squat on my property. But it is so unsafe. I have men that cannot speak English in my front yard screaming at me, throwing mattresses in my front yard, throwing trash in my front yard. And I can't. Look at me, I weigh 95 pounds. I couldn't defend myself if I had to. My husband is elderly, and last night, after living in this home for 45 years, he said, Noelle, guess what? It's time to pack up and move. He said, we can't do this anymore. He said, it's killing both of us mentally. I don't understand what you expect of us as citizens. I mean, I understand they're here under temporary protected status, and you're protecting them, and I understand that our city services are overwhelmed and understaffed. But who's protecting us? If we're protecting them, who's protecting me? I want out of this town. I am sorry. Please give me a reason to stay. Thank you.
Thank you.
So if you could watch a clip like that and your takeaway is that, oh, that woman's a bigot, that racist white bigot does. If that's your takeaway, then you're a very stupid person.
Yeah. And it goes on. I mean, it's true. And what Matt Walsh says there is true. This is really tragic for the illegal aliens coming in, or the illegal immigrants. It's tragic for them because they're fleeing horrible situations, but they're also, you can't let billions of people in without destroying your own country. You just can't. You need a different way of dealing with it. You just can't do that because there are literally billions of people that are suffering, and you can't let them all in. You just can't. You need to slowly bring in, and you need to vet people on a merit basis. It's really unfortunate. It just is. So what do we got next here?
McCain, including the endorsement of former Vice President Dick Cheney and Congress member Liz Cheney.
So here we have two of the biggest, specifically Dick Cheney, war criminals and warmongers from the old hat rhino Republican Party that are basically the neocon arm behind Kamala Harris. If that doesn't tell you that the war machine is behind this woman who is really just a hood ornament behind the administrative state, then I don't know what to tell you. She is just a hood ornament. She won't be in control of much. Whose control of her will be the neocon party behind her and the industrial military complex.
And if you want to really know the inside track on who the former president is, if he didn't make it clear already.
And instead, you have an amazing dream team behind Trump now. With Tulsi Gabbard, you've got RFK Jr. with the health, you've got Elon Musk being prepared to start a whole new area of the government that goes through and tries to find inefficiencies, which there are trillions of dollars of inefficiencies that they could clean up. And you have a president in Trump that didn't start a new war in it's like the first president in 60 years or something that hasn't started a new war. He tried to make peace with everybody because trade is what makes America great again, and any country. You don't want war. You don't want people killing each other. Stop the death. Stop the killing. Negotiate.
If I get elected.
Okay, so I want to talk about the bloodbath. Kamala brings up this bloodbath thing, and this is even from the Young Turks, which is totally left-leaning, hates Trump, but put this out because it's just true. She brought up this, that he said that America will be a bloodbath if he doesn't get in, which basically is a lie. It's a total lie. It's taken out of context and is amazing. But so I wanted to show you the original clip and then next to it.
If I get elected, Now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole. That's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country.
Now, that's what the media played over and over. That clip, right? So they cut it with that clip. And, well, here we have the Young Turks talking about it.
That statement sounds pretty bad. Trump made it during a rally speech in Ohio over the weekend. And if you were to just hear that portion of his statement, you would assume that he was calling for a bloodbath should he fail to get elected in 2024,
so
the general election.
Over and over and over and over again. And everyone's like, wow, he's really calling for a bloodbath if I don't get elected. But was he?
Well, the media, unfortunately, with the help of the Democratic Party, has actually done a fine job completely taking Trump's speech at this Ohio rally out of context to make it seem like he said something that he didn't actually say. Yep. And the bloodbath narrative that's playing out in the media is not only dishonest, after the full context was made apparent to the Trump critics, they doubled down on making it appear as though he was calling for violence in the country. Now, here's the fuller context, and then we'll discuss what we think about it. Let's watch.
Mexico has taken, over a period of 30 years, 34% of the automobile manufacturing business in our country. Think of it, went to Mexico. China now is building a couple of massive plants where they're going to build the cars in Mexico and they think that they're going to sell those cars into the United States with no tax at the border. Let me tell you something to China. If you're listening, President Xi, and you and I are friends, but he understands the way I deal, those big monster car manufacturing plants that you're building in Mexico right now, and you think you're going to get that, you're going to not hire Americans, and you're going to sell the cars to us. No, we're going to put a 100% tariff on every single car that comes across the line, and you're not going to be able to sell those cars. If I get elected, now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole. That's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath.
So he was talking about the car industry. It's going to be a bloodbath in the car industry. And this was just part of the speech. You can see more of the speech. If you look up the whole, go and look at the entire rally there. Kamala invites you to go check that out. But you can see that he was talking about that there will be a bloodbath in the car industry in America if he isn't elected, because they will remove these tariffs, they won't have them in, and these cheap floods of cheap cars from China will be flooding the market, and US has a massive car industry, will be totally decimated, and he put it as a bloodbath. The media took that. Now think about the dishonesty of the media to take that short clip at the end and say that and say that he was talking about that he would there would be a bloodbath if he got elected, in context of January 6th. So Kamala at the debate brings that up again and says he said that there will be a bloodbath if he's not elected. Like, it's so dishonest and disingenuous. I cannot believe that nobody else, hardly anyone talks about it, specifically on the left. It's just so sad that the state of affairs that we're in. So the other thing that keeps coming up is Charlottesville, that there was good people on both sides, and that he's a racist bigot, and that there was that. I wonder if I can play it here. Did I have it here?
Trump, as you know, the FBI says overall violent crime is actually coming down.
That's the violent crime coming down. But basically, Kamala goes into this massive speech about how terrible that they were holding tea torches and how racist and slurring. And he said that there was good people on both sides. And that's sick. And let's have a look at exactly what he said, because again, out of context, total lie. And making him sound like a racist when he's not. He's never been a racist. Let's have a look at it.
By everyone. I just met with FBI Director Christopher Wray and Attorney General Jeff Sessions. The Department of Justice has opened a civil rights investigation into the deadly car attack that killed one innocent American and wounded 20 others. To anyone who acted criminally in this weekend's racist violence, you will be held fully accountable. justice will be delivered. As I said on Saturday, we condemn in the strongest possible terms this egregious display of hatred, bigotry, and violence. It has no place in America. And as I have said many times before, no matter the color of our skin, we all live under the same laws. We all salute the same great flag. And we are all made by the same Almighty God. We must love each other, show affection for each other, and unite together in condemnation of hatred, bigotry, and violence. We must rediscover the bonds of love and loyalty that bring us together as Americans. Racism is evil, and those who cause violence in its name are criminals and thugs, including the KKK, neo-Nazis, white supremacists, and other hate groups that are repugnant to everything we hold dear as Americans. We are a nation founded on the truth that all of us are created equal. We are equal in the eyes of our Creator. We are equal under the law, and we are equal under our Constitution. Those who spread violence in the name of bigotry strike at the very core of America. 2 days ago, a young American woman, Heather Heyer, was tragically killed. Her death fills us with grief, and we send her family our thoughts, our prayers, and our love. We also mourn the 2 Virginia state troopers who died in service to their community, their Commonwealth, and their country. Troopers Jay Cullen and Burke Bates exemplify the very best of America, and our hearts go out to their families, their friends, and every member of American law enforcement. These 3 fallen Americans embody the goodness and decency of our nation. In times such as these, America has always shown its true character, responding to hate with love, division with unity, and violence with an unwavering resolve for justice. As a candidate, I promise to restore law and order to our country, and our federal law enforcement agencies are following through on that pledge. We will spare no resource in fighting so that every American child can grow up free from violence and fear. We will defend and protect the sacred rights of all Americans, and we will work together so that every citizen in this blessed land is free to follow their dreams in their hearts and to express the love and joy in their souls. Thank you.
Yeah, and
policy and major tax cuts and reform.
He talks
good for the American. The stock market continues optimistic than ever before. With them, we have already created over one economic on the events that took place over the weekend in Charlottesville, Virginia. I would like to provide the nation with an update on the ongoing federal response to the horrific attack and violence that was witnessed by everyone. I just met with FBI Director.
Right, anyway, I can't find it, but you know, there's so many videos of him condemning white nationalism, condemning neo-Nazis, saying, I condemn them. And the media just cut that out and put that there was good people on both sides, when what he meant is this person that got killed at the rally, just sitting there, was a good person, apparently. I don't know. But I've been at rallies. I've been at COVID rallies where I was demonstrating the lockdowns, and there was also weirdos and creeps there that when they started like chanting, you know, racist stuff, I got out of there. I didn't want to be there, but I wanted no restrictions on COVID. I thought it was ridiculous. So at all rallies, you're going to get some awful people that do awful stuff, but you can't condemn everybody that is at a certain rally and say that they were all evil. It's just what it is. It's like, I've got friends that were at the Black Lives Matter rallies, And, because they thought that was an important thing for them back in the day when it first started, before they realized it was such a corrupt institution. And they, as soon as it got violent, they got out of there. So it, it's one of these things, like there's always going to be crazy people at these things. I mean, I lived a long time in Berlin. You should see some of the rallies there. They get really crazy, and they're not full of bad people. There's people with kids there and barbecues, and then at nighttime it goes crazy. For May the 1st, check it out on YouTube. I mean, there's some of them, like, people are nuts. People are nuts, but it doesn't mean everybody's nuts. Anyway, there's plenty more. There's a few more things
country,
here.
But Vice
Excuse
President
me,
Harris,
the FBI they were defrauding statements. They didn't include the worst cities. They didn't include the cities with the worst crime.
Oh, yeah, so here we go. Here's a fact check from this clown about crime
It's actually
rates.
coming down in this country. But
Excuse me,
crime is actually coming down. Vice President, just fact check nonsense. Okay, so this is from the latest poll from the FBI data, which rejected over 6,000 law enforcement agencies took them out of the data. 6,000. That's 1/3 of all law enforcement agencies were taken out of the latest data that gentleman referenced, and which basically gives them a false data set. Gives them a false data set to say that crime is going down when really it's going up, but because they've taken out 1/3 of the entire law enforcement departments out of the data, that's 18,000 police agencies, 1/3, nearly 1/3 of the nation's 18,000 police agencies, sorry. You're going to skew the data. You're going to skew the data. And so, again, another instant fact check from them. All right, and the last but not least, I'm going to go towards fracking. Let's hear what Kamala Harris thinks about fracking. And she said she loves fracking. She's going to frack.
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So, yes, and starting with what we can do on day one around public lands, right? And then there has to be legislation. But yes, and this is something I've taken on in California. I have a history of working on this issue. And to your point,
she has a history of working on this issue. There is no doubt. Let's hear it again.
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So, yes, and starting.
Now, whatever you think of fracking is not the problem. The problem here is that she just outright lies. Outright lies. And if you want to call this a flip-flop, she can call this a flip-flop. But the thing is, I don't actually have a problem with flip-flopping. As long as you don't flip and then flop and then flip again. Like, if you get new data that's coming in and you understand new data and you decide to change your position, that's fine. Explain that. And it's actually a good thing. That's how science works. You want to see new data and you want to change your position on that once you get that new data. The problem is the lying, the saying that you're not for something and then you are for something, and taking that sort of position and not explaining things clearly. So anyway, there you have it. There's plenty more. This video is just getting on, what are we now? Almost an hour. I'm sorry, guys. But I thought it was important to go through some of these lies that were not fact-checked by the ABC. And I tried to do my best. If you have any more, please leave them in the comments, and hit the like button. It gets me to do more of these videos. So if you did like it, please hit the like button. All right. Cheers.